Okay, so let's go ahead and do some coding here. So my goal is to do a little bit of formatting to a data set. First of all, I created this Excel data set, and we're going to import that Excel data set, right? So first thing I have to do is import it, and I already did that. I imported it into, let me see where I have it here. I have it in a file I called, what did I call it? I think intro stats. Yeah. Yes, intro stats. So I imported it into a folder called import stats. So I'm going to show you how I do that just to make sure that everybody is on board with how I would do this. Let me go to a different folder for a second. I'm going to pause and then come right back on here. Okay, so my data file that I want to import is called dataset1, and it's an Excel file. So I'm going to go and put it into, I created this folder here under my SAS user profile. There's shared docs, so we're not going to use any of these shared documents, but I have my own private space here. And I'm going to create a folder, and I created this folder called intro stats. I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to upload a file into that upload file. I'm going to choose a file from somewhere on my computer, wherever it may be. Just so happens to be in the home page for this course. So I called it dataset1. And as you can see from this icon here, it is an Excel file. So I'm gonna, if hopefully this is large enough that you can see it. We don't really need to use Excel now, so that should be okay when we get into SAS. So that imported, well, it placed it in this temporary spot here until I hit upload. So it uploads the file, and I should go into my intro SAS folder, and I'll see dataset1.xlsx. All right, next step, I'm going to import that data into SAS, into a SAS file. So this is going to convert it into, start the conversion into a SAS file. I click that, and I get some code here. All right. This code will create the data file for me, but it's going to place it somewhere that I'm not really keen on it being. Work, a library called work, and SAS uses libraries for everything. It's going to place it in a library called work, and it's going to call the data file import. So it's work.import. And I don't like that name. And it's not, it's very generic. And also this work temporary library doesn't last. So I need something to last beyond just like today, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to the bottom of my screen where it says libraries, and I'm going to click that and go under my libraries. You can press this button here and create a library. So I'm going to delete the library that I have now. It's called January 14th. I'm going to delete that just to show you what I'm doing. All right. So I'm going to hit, oh, I'm going to create a new library, and I'm going to call it January 14 just because I want to. Now, you don't have a lot of characters here. I don't know if it's like 8 characters or so. It'll cut you off, and there's no spaces allowed. So I'm going to call it Jan 14. I think there's no spaces allowed, but let me see if I try to put a space in there. Yep, no spaces allowed. All right, Jan 14. And I need to link it up to the folder that I created earlier. So under files, here's my SAS user. And I'll look for my intro stats folder, right? And I'll just highlight that and hit OK. And then I'm also, so this gives it its path, right? And I'm going to click recreate this library at startup because I do want that library there. Okay. And hit OK. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. Oh, I'm going to change the name. Sorry for my, I'm going to change the name and the location of the library. I'm going to click change. And so I'm going to use the library called Jan 14. And the data set, I'm going to call it data set 1 and hit save. So see how it changed it to data set 1, library January 14th. Now that this is done, I'm going to hit the little running person icon, generic running person, and it'll spit out some results here, including basically it'll give me the what we get from proc contents, one of the procedures you can do, what are the contents of the data file? And I can check just to see if I got everything I wanted, and it's all there. So I'm set. All right. I don't need this anymore. I mean, you can save it. I don't really need it, so I'm going to delete that. Don't save. And then I really don't need this flow thing either. All right, so I need to create a new program. So I'm going to do that I got to move all this stuff out of the way here. Find all my, here it is. There's too much stuff up here. There's this little icon here. I click that and it says new SAS program. I'm going to create a new SAS program. I'll call it something generic. I like saying the word generic. Maybe, and I'll put it in a folder that makes sense. I think we were just using, let's see, which folder were we just using? It's about our current projects, intro stats. I'll put it in there, intro stats. Okay. And I'll save it as program one site. Sounds good, right? Program one for intro SAS or something like that. Whatever you want. Save. So it's a name. It has a name now. If I look under my servers, files, and folders, it should appear there under intro stats. So I have stuff in intro stats now. Say I imported the data, right? I have a program file, the data, original data set is there, and now the new SAS data set is there too. And if I go to my libraries, let's go check the libraries out, check them out, you'll see it, should see it in January 14th. And there it is. Okay, so everything's all set. I double checked, triple checked everything. Next step for us, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna help some researcher by coding some data for them and providing labels and things like that. That's a very common project that you have to do. You're going to get a variable name, whatever the variable name is. You're going to have a label associated with it. And if we're dealing with a discrete variable that's nominal or ordinal, you'll generally have some specific label. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how we create these labels, how we create value labels using a proc format, and then I'll just run a quick frequency procedure just to make sure everything worked out. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. You can also do what's called a proc print to print out things, but I'd rather just see it in a frequency table. So these are the data we're going to run. I see this is the code that we're going to run. So I'm going to I'll explain it. I'm going to copy and paste this code. This is going to actually set up the labels. So I'm going to copy that and paste it. Obviously, you don't need those colors. I'm going to paste it into that's not the right thing. I'm going to paste it right here. Control V, because it doesn't let you do other kind of pasting. So here it is. All right. So this is the wrong library name. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to create a new data set called data set 2. The one we have is data set 1, and it's located in the library Jan 14 that we created, right? And we're going to put it in Jan 14, right? But we're going to use a data set that's already in Jan 14. Okay. So using my code sheet, you can use whatever kind of label is helpful to you, but I tend to like to, when possible, to use the label. In some cases, I'll just type the question, and that's easier so if I'm working for a client who has, a specific data set they want, they'll have the label, and then I'll just use whatever label they want. And if they don't have a label, I'll just type the question in. So let's do a couple of these. So variable sex, I'll call it participant gender. You'll notice that we use a label command, right? And first, I'll note that you should note that all of these commands end in semicolons, right? First line of labels is the label for the variable sex, says equal participant gender. You can call it whatever you want. It's within these quotation marks. It could be single or double, whatever, as long as you're consistent. And it ends in a semicolon. Then I added label for one of the continuous variables, age, participant age at baseline, semicolon. I also want to let me do Hispanic, since that's one that we're going to add. So we're going to add formats to it. So I'll do label. Notice that when I type in label, it comes up. So we're going to put Hispanic, that's one of the variables, equals, say, Hispanic ethnicity. All right. And then I need my semicolon. All right, so I've got all that. Then I create these formats, right? So I'm giving these, I'm going to have a format for the variable sex and a format for the variable Hispanic. For sex, I'm going to call it sex underscore format. That's your choice, but you have to put a period after it. Okay. Sex underscore format with a period after it. And then I have Hispanic. I'm going to associate it with a format called Hispanic underscore format. So this is going to set up what's going to happen when I create the format, right? So that it'll associate those formats with those variables. Because what I want is to have those labels. That's more important than anything. Not just these labels, but the value labels, right? I highlight the area that I want to run. So this is a very small program. I didn't really have to highlight anything. I could have just clicked run. It would run everything. But sometimes you have code that has lots and lots of lines, and then you have to do, you have to highlight what you want to run. I click the little running person here, and it just doesn't really show me anything, but it added the format to it. So what does it say here? Didn't like that for some reason, but it's okay. It's not going to stop it from working. Just no, even if it's an error. Nope, not really. So anyway, so that's what we did. Next up, make sure I did everything right. Hispanic, Hispanic. Okay. All right, next up, let's go back to where it says code. Okay. We're gonna now create the variable labels. I'm gonna go back to my class notes. So I created variable labels using a proc format command. I'm gonna copy this, copy, and then I'm gonna paste it in the appropriate space, Control V to paste. All right, so now I have these formats. I'm going to use a proc format procedure. Now here I don't have to mention the data because it's going to be associated. It's the format that we're going to associate with the data set. So proc format. And by the way, if you want leave comments or notes, you can use this slash with a star, no, asterisk, and then put the comment in there, asterisk star, asterisk slash, right? And this will create a comment. You'll notice the comments are in green here. Proc format, we're going to assign values to this sex format. We're going to say 0 is equal to male. Notice how male is in quotation marks. 1 is equal to female. So I'm basically, this is my variable, right? A variable is a function that assigns numbers to some element of a sample space. These are my elements of this sample space, and I'm associating numbers with them. And I'm also putting a dot equals missing, although this isn't really necessary, but sometimes it's better to have a missing label. Some people like to use 9999 or something like that, right? And then we do the same for Hispanic formats. So those are the two formats that were done so far, right? And you'll notice that these are associated with what are known as discrete variables. These other variables like age, no, these are all continuous. Now these two alcohol variables are actually ordinal, but I'm going to spare that and leave that for people to do on their own. Okay, so now I have my formats, and I'm going to run the proc format command that I already ran the earlier command, the earlier code. So I'm going to run this. Okay, so this is done. So you're not going to see anything here, right? Okay. The only way I can see this is by, either doing something like a proc print but I'm not going to do a proc print. So proc print would print every element in the data set. But instead, I'm just going to do a quick frequency table. So I'm going to proc. And every time I type proc, it'll come up. And there's a whole bunch of different ones, but I'm going to use frequencies. Oops, there it is, frequencies. I have to take it out of a data set. It's going to be data set equals, and it's within my January 14 library, but it gives it to me here, January 14 dot data set 2. Perfect. Semicolon, table. Well, basically we're creating tables, either one by, one one variable only, or with two levels, so it's a 1 by 2 or something like that. Or we could have like a 2 by 2 with two different variables with two different levels in each one. And the variables I'm going to look at, but let's just do these separately so that we did sex and Hispanic. The reason we do these labels is it just makes it easier for us if we're presenting some data. All right, there we go. So this is my command. Let's see if it worked. It may not have worked. We'll try. Go to find the little running person again. Running a marathon by now. All right, so let's take a look at our output. So we have the label, participant gender. We have the value labels, male, female. And in this data set, there were 12 females and 8 males, 60% female, 40% male. Okay. The same here for Hispanic and not Hispanic. We had 16 not Hispanic. This worked out perfectly. We're all done. If you want to save this stuff, like to post it's really hard to copy from here. So I'm right clicking and everything, nothing's happening. I'll use this little new browser tab. And here I can actually copy and save things. Okay. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I love all this stuff. So let's end this here. Thank you very much.